When a man stands at the threshold between life and death, he experiences an intense thirst that seems insatiable, a thirst so deep that it could not be quenched even with all the water in the oceans. This critical moment, filled with vulnerability, is when the devil, ever lurking, tries to seize the opportunity to deceive and test the faith of the dying. He appears to the man offering him a glass of water, in a final attempt to divert his soul from the straight path. The transition towards death is a journey that all human beings will eventually undertake. The questions and challenges that the devil may present in those final moments are enigmas that reflect our own internal insecurities and fears. These encounters are tests of our faith and the strength of our commitment to the principles and beliefs we have held throughout life. Will we too be destined to undertake this transcendent journey to the hereafter? What cunning questions will the devil throw at us in our most vulnerable moments? How will the final experience of our earthly existence unfold before us? And finally, what is truly the agony of death, that ultimate challenge we must all face? In the last moments of his earthly life, Abu Zakariyya, a devout servant of God, lay on his deathbed, surrounded by friends and loved ones who had come to bid him farewell and offer comfort in his final moments. As the atmosphere filled with emotion and sadness over Abu Zakariyya's imminent departure, one of his friends, in an attempt to reaffirm faith and offer peace to the dying soul, began reciting the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. However, an unusual and disturbing event took place. Every time his friend uttered the sacred words, Abu Zakariyya turned his face, refusing to join in the recitation. Worried and confused, his friend tried a second time, only to observe the same rejection reaction. Determined to understand the cause of this unsettling attitude, he tried for a third time. This time, Abu Zakariyya, with a voice weakened by illness, but firm in tone, responded clearly, "I will never say those words." Abu Zakariyya's friend was completely bewildered by his reaction to the recitation of the Shahada. He wondered how someone who had dedicated his life to devotional practices, praying 5 times a day, fasting, and always seeking to please God, could have reacted in that way in his final moments. The situation was perplexing and contradictory to everything they knew about Abu Zakariyya. When Abu Zakariyya finally regained consciousness and opened his eyes, he found himself surrounded by worried and confused faces. His friend, eager to understand what had happened, asked if he remembered saying anything. As he listened to the account of the events that occurred while he was unconscious, Abu Zakariyya and everyone present were astonished. No one could comprehend how a man of his spiritual stature could have expressed such rejection of reciting the Shahada. After a few moments of reflection, Abu Zakariyya began to recount his own experience during those moments when he seemed unconscious to others. Abu Zakariyya, in explaining his experience, revealed the intensity of the spiritual trials he faced during those moments of apparent unconsciousness. With a calm voice, but with a visible trace of the internal struggle he had endured, he began to describe how the devil had tried to exploit his physical and spiritual vulnerability to divert his faith. "The first time you recited the Shahada," Abu Zakariyya explained to his friend, "the devil appeared to me holding a glass in his hand, shaking it, and offering me water to seduce me. In my thirst and weakness, he presented himself as a tempter. But I recognized the trap, and that's why I turned my face away. Then, in your second attempt to guide my soul with the sacred words, the devil returned with a more insidious request. He challenged me to proclaim that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, a creed completely contrary to my faith. Again, I refused and turned my face to avoid uttering something so contrary to my beliefs. Finally, he continued, when you tried for the third time, the devil came back and tried to deceive me with a distorted version of the Shahada, telling me to repeat La ilaha illallah in a context that suggested denying the existence of God. To this, I responded firmly, saying I will never say those words, because I knew he was trying to manipulate the sacred words to make me renounce my faith. After clarifying the trials he had been subjected to, Abu Zakariyya firmly pronounced the Shahada, reaffirming his faith in a final act of devotion, before closing his eyes to the earthly world forever. His passing was a testament to his spiritual resilience in the face of the most extreme adversities. Abu Zakariyya's experience illustrates what is known in Islamic tradition as Sakarat al-Maut, the pangs of death, which are often described as the final and greatest trial of a human being's life. This episode reveals how exhausting and challenging that critical moment can be, prompting profound questions about the nature of our own final tests. How will we face the agony of our last moments? Will we be prepared to withstand Satan's traps? Everyone, without exception, will face this decisive moment. The devil will exert maximum effort to deceive us, attacking our faith when we are most vulnerable. The question then becomes, how can we prepare ourselves to overcome this last great trial? For example, if you hold an apple casually in the palm of your hand without much care, you become vulnerable to the actions of a thief. The thief, seeing the apple so accessible, may seize the opportunity to snatch it easily. That is a powerful and profound analogy. Just as the nutrition of an apple becomes integrated into our bodies after being digested, so true and deep faith becomes integrated into our innermost being. When this faith is rooted not only in our minds but deeply in our hearts and souls, it becomes an essential part of who we are. This integration of faith provides us with an unbreakable strength in the face of challenges and temptations, even in critical moments like death. To ensure that our faith is solid and resistant to the temptations of the devil, we must deeply internalize it, allowing it to become part of our being, integrating within us like the apple that is digested and nourishes our body. The devil, like a cunning thief, continually seeks to steal this precious possession. If we maintain our faith only superficially, like an exposed apple easily taken, then he may snatch it effortlessly. But if we nurture our faith through the constant practice of righteous actions, prayer, performing good deeds, following the Prophet's sunnah, and avoiding major sins, then it becomes something that flows through our veins, strengthening every fiber of our being and leaving the devil powerless in his attempt to lead us astray. This complete integration of faith into our lives prepares us not only to face daily challenges, but also to resist final tests with strength and dignity. The acquisition of religious knowledge, diligent practice of devotion, and meticulous observance of the 5 daily prayers are essential pillars that bolster and deepen faith. These fundamental aspects of spiritual commitment not only enrich the believer's understanding of their religion, but also strengthen their personal relationship with God, enabling them to navigate life's challenges with firm and clear divine guidance. However, if a person professes belief in the oneness of God, but leads a lifestyle that contradicts this fundamental principle, as if God has no relevance in their daily life, they will encounter significant weaknesses in their faith, especially in critical moments. Neglecting obligatory prayers and indulging in worldly desires that deviate from the straight path are indicative of a faith that is not fully rooted. This disconnect between the proclamation of faith and its actual practice can lead the person to face their death with a shaky faith. Therefore, we must reflect. Is it time to make changes in our lives? Is it possible to continue without having God as the central axis of our existence? Youth is fleeting and death can reach us much sooner than we imagine, perhaps tomorrow or even today. If we strive to avoid sins, fulfill our prayers, perform good deeds, acquire knowledge, and live as true devotees of God, then we can face the final moment without fear. May our faith be deeply rooted in our hearts and souls. Those who perform their daily prayers, respecting each bow, prostration, ablution, and stipulated times, and accepting these precepts as divine mandates, will find their way to paradise. True goodness transcends mere words. It is manifested in actions and in a life lived with integrity, guided by divine commandments. True goodness is not just turning faces towards the east or west in prayer. According to Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 177, true goodness belongs to those who believe in Allah, in the day of judgment, in the angels, in the books, and in the prophets. They are those who, even while attached to their possessions, share them with their relatives. The orphans, the poor, those who have been deprived of freedom, the needy, and for the liberation of slaves. They are those who perform their prayers devoutly, fulfill the zakat, mandatory charity, keep their promises, and show patience in times of adversity, illness, and conflicts. They are the true believers, those who truly fear God. We invite you to join our community to deepen your understanding of these teachings and explore the beauty of Islam. Subscribe and activate notifications to receive content that enriches your spirit and strengthens your faith. Thank you for being part of our spiritual journey.